Hey, good morning. It's Ken Walls. Welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I say this every single day, like when I get on here, that I say I'm really excited, but I'm really excited today. I have an amazing lady on with me today. Her name is René Banglesdorf. René, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks so much, Ken. I'm glad to be vicariously through you in Columbus, Ohio this morning.
Right? I live really far north of Columbus now, so but we live in a pretty nice area. And I'll talk about that offline. I don't need people showing up to my house. But this show, and you and I met through our mutual friend Lisa Copeland. And I just love Lisa. She's on here, as a matter of fact. I see her on here right now. So, I am like, you guys are just, both of you are two unbelievable people. And I know you guys wrote a book together, and I have an image of it. I'll pop up on the screen here in a little bit. But this show is about helping people that get stuck in life have a breakthrough and get through the stuff. And I think that we learn by hearing other people's stories how we can do that. So let's start with telling everybody who you are and where you were born and raised.
Wow. Okay. Well, I am a middle-aged white woman, as you can see. That's very exciting, I'm sure. That's who I am.
Yeah.
I was born in Atlanta, Georgia, and then split my childhood between Birmingham, Alabama, and Westerville, Ohio, which is a suburb of Columbus. So kind of Southern and Midwestern all roll into one crazy package.
I love it. So you were back and forth between Alabama and Columbus.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So so where did you go to, like, school, like high school and elementary and all that?
So elementary was in Alabama.
Okay.
Middle school and high school were in Ohio. And then I went to Ohio University for a journalism degree.
Ohio University. I've had some people in the past work for me that went to OU. So one guy in particular, I'm thinking of, like, I'm like, dude, the party's over. You got to work now. Like, it's got a reputation. Let's just be real. So
I'm embarrassed to say that I spoke there to a bunch of undergrads, and I happen to confess that I did master my drinking skills at OU. So that's probably why I haven't been invited back.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, well, we won't. Well, I mean, OU is a great school. It's a great school. As a matter of fact, I think my wife has spoken there in the past too, to the marketing department. But, so you went to OU, and after graduating OU, what was your degree in? You said journalism?
My degree was in journalism, but
Okay.
let's go back just a little bit, because you use this word called graduating. And
Yeah.
Ken, that's not really what happened. I got pregnant and I got married. So
Oh.
my dream blew up in my face, or got shelved,
Ah.
if you will. And that's something you have to kind of break through. So
And that's
I'll be
in
honest with your
college.
list. In college. Yeah. My junior year in college, dropped out of school, got married, and had a kid.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So, okay.
So I graduated in 2016. I actually went back and got my undergrad degree in 2016.
Wow. Okay. Which was just a couple years ago.
Right. I was on the 28-year plan.
Yeah. And people cut on people that are 5 and 6 years, right? Wow. Okay. So let's talk about that. So here you are, what is that, 20, 21 years old? 20, 21 maybe?
Right.
And you're in college, and you get pregnant, and you, like, have to drop out. What did that do to your self-esteem? I'm just, because that really, honestly, I think that's the biggest thing that holds people back is they do things, we make mistakes in life and we stay stuck in them.
Right. Or, sometimes things happen to people that, clearly I did that to myself with a little help from my husband, but sometimes things happen to people that you aren't expecting at all, that you didn't have anything to do with. A company dissolving and you lose your job, or a parent dying and you needing to provide for your family, or, things that happen that weren't from our choice. And so a lot of times we have to learn to pivot. And that's what I did. Yes. I pivoted from being on my way to being a world-class journalist to being a first-rate mom, because that's really important. I mean, raising kids is vital. And so I pivoted, and then clearly I pivoted back. I mean, I am where I am today, not because I stayed exactly on that path either, because today I run a company that buys and sells private jets. And so you go through life pivoting, and that's what brings you your breakthroughs.
I love it. And so you pivot and you continue to push through whatever comes your way. I love that. And so you were, and were you living in I mean, OU is in Southern Ohio. So were you living down there in that area?
No. Oh. No. So my husband's also from the Columbus area. So we moved back to Central Ohio and had our son there, where we had family support, which when you're 21, newly married and a new mom is very important. Family's important.
My wife, we had our youngest daughter is 8 years old, and my wife was always a professional. Like, she graduated from Ohio Northern, and then she just, she was a career woman. So I met her 9 years ago. And like, we didn't even, like, she's like, I'm never having kids. And then boom, here all of a sudden at 40 years old, she's pregnant. like, can you imagine? So, she had our daughter literally 4 days before her 42nd birthday. So, so it's like, so again, you don't know what you don't know, but when you have a child, everything changes. Everything. So here you were living in Columbus. Did you have a career? Did you start a career, or were you?
No. I stayed. I mean, I was a career mom there for a while, and I would get bored and I would go work somewhere. I worked we moved to DC when Jake was pretty young, and I started working for a telecommunications billing magazine. Very exciting. I mean, I wrote about phone bills for 2 years. It was scintillating reading. I know you're going to go look it up as soon as we get off this Facebook Live today.
I might Google it right now. I'm kidding.
But it challenged my intellect, which is what I needed. Yeah. And then I went to work for a .com company out in San Francisco, and I was flying back and forth between San Francisco and DC, which was a lot of fun. And that's where I learned marketing. Wow. And then I, that company blew, kind of fell apart during the .com bust. And I ended up taking those skills and applying them to, PTA and being a basketball mom. And then I would get bored with that and do freelance marketing or journalism. And so I've kind of gone back and forth through that. But then 10 years ago, in 2008, my husband and I started Charlie Bravo Aviation. And through a course of events there, in short order, I became the CEO of that company and have been leading it ever since.
So let's talk about that, because that's huge. And first, I met with a guy. Well, you know who Grant Cardone is, and I met with him once, and he's like, so what do you want, dude? And I go, I want to blow up like you are. And he's like, well, okay, but why? What's your ultimate goal? I go, I want a jet. Like, I want a jet too, dude. Like, you're not the only one that gets to have a jet, so it's like, it's always been a dream of mine, and it will come, and you're going to help me get that thing one of these days. So, like
we
that,
can do that today, Ken. I mean, we can go through the assessment today and
yeah.
sign a contract right now.
I know. So here comes the close. I'm definitely not there yet, but I'm curious what in the world compelled you to get, like, this is your first venture into owning your own business?
No, I had a freelance business doing some freelance marketing.
Okay.
And one of the companies that I was freelancing for bought and sold private jets. It just happened to be where my husband was working.
Gotcha.
I also had an organic cookie dough company for a while, and that's when I met Lisa. I was making organic cookies.
Wow.
And then as I was doing marketing for this company that Kurt was working for, both of us kind of felt like we were hitting a ceiling there. There wasn't an opportunity to have equity. And so we started our own company together as 50-50 partners.
Wow.
And that within a year, it shifted to a 51-49 split so that we could get certified as a woman-owned company.
Nice. That's awesome. And that was the aviation company.
That's the aviation company. So we've had that for 10 years. We started in February of 2008, just a few months before fuel prices skyrocketed and the bottom fell out of the economy, and Nancy Pelosi roasted all the automakers who flew to DC for their bailout on their private jets. So it was the perfect storm of a bad time to be starting an aviation company. But it made us lean and strong and strategic about what we were doing. And one of those strategic things was putting me in charge of the company.
Wow. So okay, like, and aviation, like selling private jets, those things aren't cheap, are they?
Well, some of them are.
Are they?
It depends how long you want to fly them. I mean, we sell assets. I think we have one under contract right now for $300,000.
A jet?
A jet,
What?
a beach jet. But I mean, yeah, the acquisition cost is low, but the ownership cost isn't necessarily low because you're paying to fly it. You're paying if you don't fly it because you have to still maintain it and insure it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's an attainable asset for a lot of people. It's just the operations cost are sometimes onerous.
Right. So are you, in this business, are you like do you have you have these things in inventory, or you're like kind of a broker kind of?
We're a broker most of the time.
Okay.
We do own one plane right now with a partner. And we'd like to sell that one. So you and I will talk about that one as soon as this show's over today. It's not that far from you. It's sitting in Nebraska waiting for its new owner. But, but yeah, we mostly serve as a broker, which is a really good, place to be when the assets are fluctuating in value quite a bit. It's not as, it's pretty risky to flip planes when you don't know what's going on in the economy from day to day.
Right. So let's back up. When you started this company, you were Alicia Doyle once won. She's on here, so you can.
Perfect.
Yeah. Just I got her cell number. I'll give it to you.
Just DM me after. I'll get you all hooked up, Bill.
So you know who she is, right? So when you started this, I mean, where did like your husband keep his job, or did you guys go all in, or how did that work?
No, we went all in.
Wow.
Like both of us put all of our eggs in one basket. I mean, he was starting a competing company, and we did that very amicably with the company that we were leaving, but we directly compete with them.
Wow. Now, somebody just asked a friend of mine here in Columbus actually asked you're not competitors with NetJets, are you?
We are in some ways,
Are you?
because we try to take their clients. So
Oh,
when
yeah.
people are ready to move from fractional ownership, which is what NetJets is, a
Yeah.
timeshare, if you will,
Yeah.
into full ownership, that's where we come in.
Okay.
Sometimes we're getting rid of an asset for somebody so that they can move on to NetJets because they don't need to be flying as much as they were, and NetJets fits their mission a little bit better now.
I gotcha. Yeah.
Adam Johnson is a friend of mine. I have several friends who work at NetJets. I think it's a great company, and I'm pleased that they fill that niche.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'd like to get more people off of their fractional program into full plane ownership.
A friend of mine, he's like 21 years old too, and he has this membership to that Jet Smarter thing. And
Yeah.
and he's like he when I was in Vegas, he flew in and he's like, yeah, I flew in on a private jet, and I'm like, what? And I said, dude, you're like 21, and he's like, yeah, well, it's not that difficult to do, and blah blah blah. So I went on their website, and you have to put in your email address or something to see whatever, and they hammer me. I mean, they hammer me on emails, and now they're like emailing me, basically saying, hey, we'll pay you to take one of our planes. It's this. I mean, they keep dropping the price, and now so what is something like that? I mean, what is I don't completely understand that. It's almost like you pay a membership fee and you can ride their routes or something.
Yeah. So JetSmarter has a crack dealer model. They get you in for a very low price, and then you're hooked. And you're like, the hell if I'm flying in that middle seat in Delta again. Right. I'm paying whatever it costs to fly on a private jet. And so that's a little bit of their philosophy, and they've got some pretty powerful backing.
Do they really?
Yeah, the Saudi royal family is a backer of JetSmart. And so it's really engaging people kind of in an entry level position. And then getting them flying privately. So yeah, you may fly on that first flight for $300, which would be cheaper than going on Southwest or Delta. But then the next time you decide to fly, you're the one setting up the charter and then finding other people to fill those seats, and you're paying $14,000. Wow. And so there's an unpredictability to the cost there with JetSmarter, but it is a very intriguing model, and it's gained a lot of market share, probably mostly by emailing people like you.
I mean, it's insane. It's nonstop.
Yeah. And there's a model kind of between the two that you've mentioned, JetSmarter and NetJets, and that's Wheels Up. And so Wheels Up operates a little bit more like a country club membership, where you pay an annual dues. Yeah. You pay an initiation fee and then an annual dues fee, and then you pay per hour. But it's all, I mean, you're all in. Like if you pay $3,600 an hour for a King Air, you're not paying extra for pilots. You're not paying extra for landing fees or overnights or repositioning flights. What you see is what you get with them.
Wow.
And then Kenny Dichter's done a fabulous job marketing that and getting all these celebrity ambassadors and kind of experiential things for the members. And so it's really interesting to watch how these guys are kind of duking it out at the entry level to people flying privately.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's nothing like it. I mean, if you've been on a commercial flight with a crying baby anywhere in the vicinity, and then flying private, like like first class on a commercial flight is not first class. Flying private is first class.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing like it. So we're back. The streaming stopped for some reason. So I remember 2008, 2009, that whole, I mean, probably until about 2011 or better, the economy was, I don't know if it was the economy was bad or just the buyer attitude was bad. It was just bad. So how in the world you guys went all in possibly the worst time in the last 30 years to go all in on something like that? How did you survive? What did you do?
Well, there were a few things that we did. I mean, one is we lived on kind of a shoestring budget for a while. We put a lot of equity into the company. I mean, all of our eggs were in that one basket. And then you just power through. I mean, my husband's the most tenacious person that I know. He's teaching me that, still. Yeah. But he just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. He just doesn't ever give up. And I would think of strategic things and he would just be powering through. So it really helps to have someone who's, strong in your weak areas and vice versa. We balanced each other out. And I think that made us a really powerful team, still does to this day. And I think having our sights set on not giving up, but making this work really gave us that grit to persevere. And I mean, that's really what it takes to be successful and to have a breakthrough is to keep, pounding at that wall, keep, getting the jackhammer and pushing away. You're not going to succeed if you give up when things are hard.
I have a buddy that when my wife and I opened our first, because I freelanced for years and did like Crown Mercedes-Benz website here in Columbus and, some people you've probably heard of. Do you remember Chef Hanky?
No.
Did you ever go to Hanky's Cuisine and down on Front Street?
I don't think so. Yeah, you know what? I did. Probably in the 80s.
Yeah. He was a 5-star. He cooked for presidents. I mean, he won the Bocuse d'Or gold. It's the Culinary Olympics. Anyway, I did his website for years, and so when my wife and I met, though, she had been in marketing and ran the Ohio State Fair's marketing and all that, and so she had just been downsized in '08 from a company. She was the VP of marketing, and everybody was downsizing back then. And so I'm like, well, you can, join me, and we can, and so. But she had always worked in corporate America and C-level positions, and I've always been an entrepreneur. So I'm like, hey, you know what? We just have to eat peanut butter for a while, and we'll be all right. And she's like, peanut butter? What? No, I didn't sign up for peanut butter. And I'm like, well, you got to understand, trying to have that conversation with somebody used to making, hundreds of thousands a year. And I'm like, hey, I can live on 20 grand. I'll figure it out. I don't need,
yep.
And her going 20 grand. What? No, that and so having that, and I'm sure it's impossible to be in business, especially you're selling huge ticket items. I mean, even though there are jets available for 300 grand, that's still a lot of money because the maintenance and upkeep and everything, you got to pay for a hangar. You're not going to leave it sitting outside. So how, did you guys have those conversations that we had conversations where my wife would come to me and say, I think maybe we should get jobs. And I was like, we have a job. What are you talking about? And did you guys have that? Any of that ever?
Absolutely. And we've had times where we've gone 6 months between commission checks. Oh. And it takes a special kind of person or couple. And it's actually pretty rare to have two people in one marriage who have the kind of risk tolerance that Kurt and I have.
Yeah.
We have other friends who the other spouse has, income from somewhere else that do this. And, And we don't. I mean, we literally put all of our eggs in one basket.
Wow.
And, I like writing, so maybe that'll become a second career for me, and that'll change that a little bit. But at the same time, I mean, we've had hard conversations like, dang, we've been eating Kraft macaroni and cheese for the last 2 weeks. Do we need, how are we going to make payroll? I mean, it's a little more stable now, and tax reform's been good for jet sales for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're really hard times. And then there are times where we're like, shoot, yeah, we can pay for the whole family, the whole extended family to go on vacation. So there are lots of ups and downs, high risk, high reward.
I have a friend who, I remember I had one employee and a graphic designer that worked for me, and I couldn't pay him. And it was payroll time, and I'm like, and he was only making $500 a week, and I'm like, I can't pay him right now. I didn't tell him that, the employee, but I'm freaking out, and I'm cold calling. I'm doing everything I know how to do, and nothing is firing. And this is in like '09, right? And nothing's happening. Customers that owe me money, and I'm freaking out. Like on the inside, I'm dying. Like I can't believe this is happening. And I call a friend of mine, not to borrow money from him. They do $100 million a year. And I called the dad who started the company, and I said, I'm not asking you for money, but here's my situation. And my question is this: how do you make it? What's the secret? And he said, Ken, he goes, there were times when I had 40 employees and I couldn't pay them. And I'd call them all together and say, hey, can't make payroll this week, but I'll catch you next week, And he's like, I had 5 credit cards that were all maxed out. He's like, and like I couldn't, there were times it happened. And he goes, now, people walked out of those meetings, grabbed their stuff, and left my company and never came back. There were people that did that. And then there were people that stuck by my side, and those people are all multimillionaires now. He said, my kids and my kids' kids will never have to worry about money ever, okay? But it doesn't come overnight. There is no secret. You just got to stay in the ring. You got to keep running, keep fighting, and you don't let the blanking tiger catch you. And I'm like, what's the tiger?
Right.
Like, what is that? So, and that's it. It's tenacity, isn't it?
It is. It is. You just can't give up. I mean, that's the big thing is that, once you know what you're supposed to be doing and you have that goal in mind, you just have to go for it, and you can't be deterred.
I totally agree. Totally agree with you. So with in your experience, I'm sure you've met all walks of life. When you look around and you see people that are stuck, I'm sure you've met people that are stuck. What do you think the number one thing is, in your opinion? What's the number one thing that keeps people stuck?
I think there are 2 things. The first thing is not knowing their purpose. And by purpose, I mean where your passions and your proficiencies or your strengths intersect. What are you passionate about and what are you good at? And where those intersect, that's your purpose. So if people haven't figured that out yet, they get stuck in wherever they are. And they need to figure that out and press through. And then the second reason people get stuck is because they make it all about them. And I think we are a society that needs to be others focused. Yeah. And people get stuck in self-pity, and they get stuck in narcissism, and they get stuck in, entitlement, and it should be all about me, and society owes me something. And when we get out of that mindset and into a mindset of what can I do for somebody else? What can I give back to my community? What can I give? JFK said it. Ask not what my country can do for me, but what I can do for my country. Right. Sure, I messed that quote up, but no, it's the same concept. And I see a lot of people especially middle-aged women who are stuck in depression.
Yeah.
And the best antidote for depression is service, is selflessness. It's going to a soup kitchen or a foster care group home and serving.
Yeah.
It's helping your neighbor out when, they have a hernia and they can't mow their lawn. It's going over and mowing their lawn for them. It's doing something to give to somebody else. And that seems to be a lubricant to get people unstuck is giving. So, and then if I'm going to throw in a third one, it would be gratitude. So being thankful for what you have.
Wow.
That's important. I mean, even, I just watched a friend die of ALS and
Wow.
seeing him go into a panic attack because he didn't know if his lungs were strong enough to take his next breath. Man, that encouraged my gratitude pretty strongly. But he was grateful that he still had his mind. And so, we always have something to be grateful for. And if we can focus on what we're grateful for instead of what we don't have, that gets you unstuck pretty fast too. Wow.
That is so powerful. I mean, and actually, that may be the best answer to that question I've received so far, because it may just be because I totally agree with it, and I practice those things. I'm not shy. I tell everybody I'm a recovered alcoholic of 16 years sober in August, and one of the first things somebody told me in that recovery program was, dude, stop thinking so much about yourself. Like it's impossible to be in service to someone else or helping someone else and also be focused on your problems or your lack, right? So I'm huge at that. Like, go wash somebody else's car. Like, what? Why would I do that? Because it'll solve your problems. And people can't, it doesn't register, right? Like, what? That doesn't make sense. But when you're giving to other people and you're helping other people, it's impossible to stay stuck. I loved that answer. I love it. Love it. And gratitude, I have a gratitude list I do every day. So I love that. So let's back up a little bit and talk about, your good friend and co-author Lisa Copeland, and how you guys met. I mean, how did that all come about? Because I want to talk a little bit about your book, but let's talk about how you guys met first.
Oh gosh, there's some funny stories in there.
I can imagine.
Lisa and I met at church and then got acquainted there, and then she invited me to be part of a charity fashion show. She's a fashion major and I'm tall and thin. And she was like, you're going to be on my runway. And I was, okay, it's for a good cause. I'll do it. And this began a journey of Lisa Copeland pulling me out of my shell. And if anyone knows Lisa, they know that she is very good at that.
Oh my gosh.
And Lisa and I are about as different as two people can be. We like to say she's the gunslinger and I'm the sniper. And if you think about those personalities, they're different. But Lisa and I discovered that we have a lot of characteristics in common.
Yeah.
Because of who we are and our backgrounds, but also because we're both successful women in male-dominated industries. And we were talking one night about the crossover. I mean, she sold cars.
Yeah.
I sell planes. There are similarities and differences there. I mean, I might sell 10 a year. She might sell 10 a day.
Right.
So there's some differences in our jobs, but really the tenacity and the other qualities that make women strong in those fields are similar.
Right.
And so one night we were, sitting at a restaurant and talking back and forth about, well, who do we know that's good at this? And who do we know that's good at that? And wow, we have such an interesting network of women between the two of us, of these people who have really blazed trails and have have gotten up when life's knocked them down
Right.
and succeeded again. And we started kind of talking about, well, gosh, we should write a book about that. And so we did.
So, and the book, I'm going to put it up over my face. I hope I have this right. There it is. Crushing Mediocrity. I love the Louboutins there on the cover. And if you don't know what Louboutins are, go Google it. You won't believe. I didn't know about 2 years ago, and I'm like, somebody said, I'm like, what's Louis Vuitton? What's that? And they're like, no, Louboutin.
Nope.
I'm like,
Christian Louboutin, the most brilliant man who makes women pay a lot of money to have their feet very uncomfortable, but right. They look hot. So that's
they're like stupid expense. I mean, they're like $3,000. I've seen like.
Shh, don't tell my husband that.
He knows.
He does.
There's no way he doesn't know that. So you guys wrote this book, and I wrote a book. It was all me, and I didn't have a co-author. I can't. I'm too much of a control freak. I can't imagine having a co-author. So what was that like, writing a book together?
Well, it was interesting. Lisa's a gunslinger and I'm a sniper. I don't know if I mentioned that, but like corralling her into giving me her thoughts about things was sometimes challenging. And I did the physical writing part of the book because I have a journalism background and I really enjoy writing.
Right.
And she did a lot of research and got a lot of people's stories together, and she's helping to create the course that we're putting together right now as a follow-on to the book. And so, I mentioned earlier, it's really important to have people who are strong where you're weak and vice versa. And Lisa and I really balance each other out. I mean, she's action, 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 and I'm strategy, strategy, strategy. And so when you combine those things together, I think you come up with a really powerful story. But yes, we do know each other much better now.
Yeah.
The good things and the frustrating things about each other, having done this project together.
So, Alicia Doyle says, you clearly did not watch Sex and the City, Ken. I didn't, actually. My wife was obsessed with that show, but I never did. I don't know what's the reference. I don't get the reference.
So, Ken, have you bought her a pair of Louboutins?
That would be a big old no.
That should be on your goals for this year. Okay. Hashtag big goals. Hashtag relationship goals.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I have big goals.
Gotcha. I think I got you, Alicia.
Oh, God. Uh-oh. I'm in trouble now. So with so you guys wrote this book together, and obviously, and Lisa's a dear friend of mine too, and a client, and she's running like literally at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I can't believe you haven't sold her a private jet yet. She needs one. But so along the way, you published this book. I assume you had a publisher, right? Did she tell me that?
No, we self-published it.
Oh, self-published. That's right.
The next ones won't be self-published, but we self-published that one.
Okay. So, and my book was self-published, but I did it through Amazon, so it's way easy. It's super easy through Amazon. But what's with the book? I mean, I assume the book launch went well. You guys did well with that. And it's a beautiful book. I'm going to pop it up on the screen again. It's a wonderful book. I have the Kindle version of it too. Along with like 3,000 other books that get recommended to me every day. And I get books sent to me all the time too. I have stacks of them over here. But like, what do you feel like really helped you guys launch that book successfully? Because there's a lot of people that would love to write a book and launch a book, but what do you feel really helped you with the launch and making it successful?
I think that there are a couple of things that help with the launch of anything. One is that we really believed in it and we really believed the message.
Right.
And I don't know, this may sound arrogant, but we live it. I mean, we really live to crush mediocrity.
Yeah.
That's something that we think about, and we get up and put our feet on the ground out of our bed every day with that purpose in mind, is to not allow status quo to rule our lives or mediocrity to rule our lives, but that we're going to stand up and fight every day to eliminate participation trophies and entitlement thinking and, kind of go with the flow ideology. That's not who we are. So number one, we believe it.
Right.
And number two, we talk about it. So that's really what a launch is all about. Like, you have to be passionate about something, and then you have to talk about it. So we talk about it in our jobs, in our industries, in our communities, in our kids' schools.
Yeah.
And Lisa's a lot more on the speaking circuit than I am, and she talks about it and lives it and hashtags it on Facebook and Twitter and everywhere else that she is, because she's a gunslinger and she's going to shoot it out. Yeah. So that's it. I mean, that's really not rocket science.
I've hashtagged it too, actually. So I love it. So, if somebody came to you and they said, I'm stuck, I'm struggling, can't pay my bills, whatever, like all of these things are going wrong, what's the first thing you're going to say to them to help them get beyond that, to help them, because again, I've been there, I've been there. In fact, I've been homeless in the past, back when I drank. But what do you say to somebody to help them take that first jump?
I think you really have to chunk it down to a little win. And, this is kind of a silly example, and I'll give a more serious one in a moment, but when we're having a tough time at work and sales are just so frustrating that we can't stand it, Kurt will often go play poker. Because if you play poker, the stakes are much, much lower than $1 million aircraft sales. What if it's a $5 poker hand or a $2 poker hand, and you can bluff and win? That gives you a little victory.
Right.
Right. And if you win a hand, it just kind of rebuilds you a little bit. Yeah. And so if you take that kind of shallow example and apply it to something deeper or more meaningful than Texas Hold'em, you count the little wins. You look for those little wins. And so if you can chunk things down into, this is the little win, I'm going to be able to pay for my grocery bill today, or to pay half of my electric bill today, or to first, Dave Ramsey refers to it as the snowball effect, and taking that smallest credit card debt and paying that one off first, and then rolling whatever you had applied to that payment into the next credit card and then paying off that one next. Having that snowball effect where you start with something small so that you can get it rolling is really effective. And so, that's what I would say about that. If you've got a big project or a big goal, do the next thing that's easy. If your goal is to close a sale with Dell, then start with, who can I email that's going to be able to introduce me to somebody that I need to know there, that's going to help me on the next step of reaching that goal. So it's finding the next easy thing to do, or the next little win, and taking that step.
Wow. I love it. I mean, I love it. You're right. That's why I started this show. Right there, what you just said. Because it was like, I'm I do well, but I didn't feel like I was really doing enough. And I love to give back and help people. And I know that hearing, stories from Lisa Copeland and René Banglesdorf and Bob Berg and, about how you've gone through the struggle. You've struggled. You've been there. We've all been there. We see people, and I'm sure you've been on thousands of private jets, and somebody sees you walking out in your Louboutins to get on a private jet to fly off somewhere. Well, that's all they see. They see that moment in time. They don't see all of the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or the macaroni and cheese that got you to that private jet, right? So there's no magical formula for instant overnight anything.
And you know what? We don't value it if it is instant overnight anything.
That's right.
Right? When you work hard for something and you really sacrifice for it, it means so much more than if it's handed to you.
Yep. 1,000% agree. So what's coming up next for you, Renee? What's happening? What's coming down the
Well,
pipe
Lisa
for you?
and I, probably in the next month or so, will be launching our Crushing Mediocrity course, which will be an online course where we're doing some mentoring. We shot the videos for it. It was totally unscripted. We were in jeans and our Crushing It t-shirts with a camera in her office, and we just kind of talked through each one of the chapters and kind of the nitty gritty of how to accomplish it. So that course is coming.
That's awesome.
I have a new book coming out next year. And it's that'll be called Stand Up, How to Flourish When the Odds Are Stacked Against You. And that really shares a little bit more in-depth look at my, faith and my conservatism and how those things have driven me. And, so it's maybe a little more controversial than Crushing Mediocrity, but sometimes you have to take a stand. And so, that's on the horizon. I think I'll be launching a membership course and starting to put out some resources for that,
awesome.
In the next few months as well.
That's awesome. Wow. And hey, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So
that's the truth.
I think it's good to stand for something. So wow, you have a lot going on. I don't want to make this all about you and Lisa because you are autonomous. But you've got your own thing going on. And if there's anybody that watches this that, would like a really great deal on a new or used private jet, no, right?
Absolutely.
How does everybody follow you or get in touch with you?
So I have such an unusual last name. I can get all the URLs for that. So I have RenéBanglesdorf.com.
Nice.
I also am on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn under René Banglesdorf. And then, my company's website is, my company's Charlie Bravo Aviation, and that website is wepush10.com. Or they can go to charliebravoaviation.com and it'll redirect. But, we like the sassy one. So WEPUSHTIN.com.
I have it up on the screen. I just put it up on the screen.
Awesome.
WePush10.com. And they can connect with you there, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere.
Yep.
Wow. Well, listen, I am very, 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 very grateful that you took the time out of your busy schedule to do this. People need to know, hey, you can have a breakthrough. You can
absolutely.
Yeah. So, anything else you'd like to leave my audience with?
I think we covered so much ground, Ken. I really appreciate the time being on your show and encouraging your viewers and being able to speak a little bit into their lives, because it makes me feel like if someone can learn from my mistakes or my struggles, it makes them more worthwhile. And I think that if we can have that attitude and be transparent with others about the tough things that we go through, man, it somehow sweetens the bitterness of the hard road that we've walked in some ways.
It does. I agree with you. Well, thank you so very much. And thank you to everyone who shared this on Facebook and liked it and loved. And thanks, Alicia Doyle, for making me have to go buy a pair of Louboutins now. So, all right, you guys have a great day. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys later.